Hey, that's the Daily Bugle. Hello everyone, I'm Peppa80. Welcome to the last episode of Marvel Spider-Man. Oh man, it's been a long journey. Last time, we did everything side stuff that we were missing after completing the main story of Silver Lining. Today, we're not going to spend so much time in New York. We've already spent our time doing everything we could here in New York City, specifically Manhattan. What we're going to do, though, is we're going to come over here. You see, we've got collections. And for starters, look at the amount of freaking tokens we have. I have collected every single available token in the game. We have 26 extra tokens for research. We have 6 from landmarks and 0 from backpacks. You actually use up all the backpacks. We have 26 ones from bases, 105 from crimes, and 99 from challenges. That is a lot. That is a lot of tokens that are not used, but there's a lot of extra ones, so definitely doable to unlock absolutely everything in just one run. Then we got our backpacks. You can just come back here, check each and every one of these whenever you want. If you haven't heard the audios, if you have the game, definitely do that, because they give a lot of insight as to what Peter Parker thought and was doing during the 8 years he's been Spider-Man. I went through all of these as we were getting them. I did try to listen to all of them, and so I don't think I have to listen to them again. If you want to do that, then go ahead. Look for a video that has all of them in one same place, or you can watch the entire series back again and see how we got to get all of them in the first 10 episodes or so, which was actually a lot of fun. The very beginning of the game is also a lot of fun. Then we got JJJ Archives, Just the Facts with J. Jonah Jameson, and you actually get to see all of the ones, in here. The ones that play throughout, you get to see them all. Of course, they vary with the campaigns, but you can re-listen to any and all podcasts, even the ones that get interrupted. They get saved automatically, and you can just go back and do this. Like, for example, there's that, there's Credit, there's Coupon. Coupon is the big one. Yes, because this one is the one in which he knows that there's 2 Spider-Men. Yes! Because Miles Morales finally started training with Peter on field. So, and then you also get to hear recordings. If you got recordings from any of the campaigns, you can listen to them over here, as long as Peter kept them. So in this case, we have all the crime scenes, 1 through 9, plus Hostile Takeover, Hammerhead Upgraded, First Test Subject, and, you know how that goes. But yeah, you can also re-listen to all of the audio recordings that you've gathered throughout the game. Especially in the first campaign, in the main story campaign, you can listen back to all of the recordings that you get on the lab from Otto Octavius and see how his devolution descent into Dr. Octopus. So that is very interesting. I actually missed a few recordings that in the few last visits to the lab that I did get to hear on New Game Plus, so I do really recommend that you look out for those, and if you are not able to hear or you just don't want to hear them during the main game, come back here and listen to them at some point, because it's very interesting to see how Doc starts descending into madness. And the main reason why we're here is, the newspapers. Today we're going to read the newspapers and we're going to go through the character bios. Sections, which are the ones that I explored the least throughout the entire game, and the ones that I actually wanted to do a little bit more with. So, we have this first one. You got The Major Race, Osborn, Tops Balls, Corrupt Cops, Investigation by Ben Urich, and Daily Bugle, New York's finest daily newspapers, presenting Kingpin knocked down, Fisk arrested for racketeering. Shocker paroled, which is, a little bit of a foreshadowing at this point, because this is the first thing you do in the game. And this is out immediately. This paper is out immediately. So you see that Shocker paroled is in there. You get foreshadowing. Homelessness down, thank you Feast, and Mayor Osborn interview, which just doesn't really tell you much. Then you got, Fisk pleads not guilty, help wanted, police understaffed, because a lot of the police force was under Fisk's payroll, so now they're understaffed, which is also foreshadowing for Silver Sable coming to town. Off the streets, into homes, feast centers, reduce New York homelessness. Fisk paid cops, arraigned, and Pizza Pigeon, viral sensation. I don't know what Pizza Pigeon was. Advances in prosthetics, also a big news. And also important to what Spider-Man is doing, Peter Parker. Then we got your tax dollars not at work, surveillance towers at expensive bust. Fickle friends, New York elite disavow Fisk. Loss of trust, can cops recover? Because of all Fisk things. And the towers, surveillance towers at expensive bust because they stopped working, of course. Oscorp stock soars, the bodega cats legalized. That's more than anything for Miles. And Spider-Man approval up. Thank you very much for that. We got the Daily Bugle, New York's finest daily newspaper, presents disorganized crime. Fisk mobs desperate last days. Update, crime towers working for now. And 45 something calls Spider-Man hero. Oh, 45%. Sorry, I wasn't able to read that properly. The Raft, Inside New York, Supermax, and Jameson vs. the World podcast pulls no punches. Don't really understand why, but yeah. 45% calls Spider-Man a hero, so we're definitely still not up on people's opinions, but hey. Then we got Norman Conquest, Mayor's League Rose, and Wild Ones, Biker Gang Drug Rings. Foreshadowing for Tombstone. Art Attack, Mass Gang Robs Gallery, of course, main event. Fisk Estate Sale, which was what was happening there, where Mary Jane and Peter met before the actual estate sale. You got Emily Osborn's legacy. Also a little bit of foreshadowing, because at this point, they hadn't really mentioned at all that Harry's mom was gone. So Emily Osborn's legacy is part of what you do in the game too. And sports, ESU falls to state. Well, that's a shame. The big shock, which wasn't really. Shocker violates parole, robs bank. Not a shocker. Meet the new boss, who runs Masked Gang. And all the Kingpin's men, Fisk's lawyers. Well, that's something. Osborn refuses more debates, ESU, tuition hike, and transit strike. These aren't really very big things to take into account, I think. But, I mean, I guess it's just a neat little thing that they were mentioning everything that has happened before. And the big questions that are in people's minds at the time, I suppose. Not entirely sure of what that is. Analyze this. Oscorp research stations. Harry. Demon Gang. What police know? Pretty much nothing at that point. What campaign? Mayor ignores opponent as approval soars. Harry Osborn docks paparazzi in EU, which, couldn't really be happening now that we know what happened with Harry, but it was on the news as a cover for Harry not being in Europe. Judge, Fisk Construction stays open. Also a little bit of a weird thing, but it is the thing to do because Fisk Construction is the place where the helicopter scene starts. So that is something. Sky High Heist, Cat Burglar strikes. Remember that? The heist? Remember Black Cat? Man, my God, I was about to say Catwoman. Black Cat. Hero Cup at home with Jefferson Davis. And Gang War, Demon Fisk mob bloodbath. Public's trust in police rebounds. Thanks, Jefferson Davis. And Shocker in protective custody, finally. There we got. Was Fisk right? Crime up, post-arrest. Heroes welcome Osborn to Hunter Davis. 100% chance of Crane. Spider-Man, Demon Battle, Rex, High-Rise Havoc. Crane removal, street closures. You can actually see the Crane in the city, still stuck during a small portion of the game. And, well, that's interesting because it sticks to the continuity that it is creating, for one. And Pigeon Coops, how to start. Also, thank you, Pigeon Missions. But yeah, was Fisk right? Crime up post-arrest. Because now that Fisk is gone, there's a big hole to fill in for the leader of the biggest crime organization in New York. So a lot of people are just starting to rise. Then we got Hero False. Davis killed him last. Demon Gang, criminals or terrorists? Perhaps both. Cowards. City Hall bombing kills 27, injures 58. Among them, Rio Morales and Peter Parker. Just injured. Not gravely, thankfully. Osborn hospitalized. Stable. How did this happen? Police asked for tips. This one is more than anything a mood setter. More than foreshadowing and whatnot, this is more than anything a mood setter. Because it changes the mood of the game. Like, the entire tone of the game changes with that mission. You hadn't seen anyone get actually killed before that point in the game, and then you see a lot of people killed outright in front of Miles' eyes. So that just changes the tone of the game a lot. Killer Princess. Who is Silver Sable? No comment. Capture demons, not talking. The Cavalry, Mayor High's Sable International. Davis buried with honors. Opinion, I miss Fisk. Symkaria Travel Guide, which is also a little bit of a foreshadowing, you could say, because of course no one can travel to Symkaria because of the conflicts. But yes, the Princess of Symkaria, Silver Sable, was hired. Then we got Pigeon Apocalypse. Where are they coming from? Sable too rough? Citizens complain. Sable was a little bit too rough. High-rise horror. Demons. Spider-Man and Penthouse Inferno. Sable's record examined. Are demons a cult? Mayor fully recovered. They say fully recovered, but he wasn't really harmed after the bombing. He just went away. He had to save face, so something had to be said. But yes. More mood setting. Pigeon Apocalypse is more than anything because of, the pigeons that Spider-Man was trying to catch. There were 12 of them, but there were also groups of pigeons, so that. Then we got Crisis on Campus. Brainwashed are missing people drugged. You see, this sets the other missions, the side missions that we did with the student guy. Forgot his name. Charles, was it? But he sent us to find all the missing students. That sets it. Suicide or murder? Professor's odd death. We know that it was sort of murder, but it was a forced suicide, so technically murder. And Demon, mind control. Sable locks down ESU and missing students, faculty. Yes. Another mood setter more than anything else. 5 people dead in riot, demon attack on ESU. Which, not surprising, at least to us. Lots of things happened. Grave Dust, deadly new drug. I was corrupted, demon victims ordeal. So this is after we've rescued at least some of those students. We have Tombstone buried, drug lord Lincoln, and gang arrested. And also, Janice Lincoln defends father. Tombstone's daughter. Trust in Osborn down, and tourism drops. It's very, very dangerous in New York at this point, but still not as bad as it will get later. Security versus freedom, Sable International, brutality accusations. Justice denied, City Hall still unpunished. And Spider-Man, better or worse than Sable? One is a big vigilante, the other one is the head of a mercenary association hired for security reasons. So, technically, they're a security company, but they're being way too harsh. They have a lot of checkpoints. They're just not okay. At this point, I think Spider-Man is way, way better than Sable. What should you do if Sable stops you? ESU madness still unexplained. Once again, more people were disappearing. So that's what it refers to. Demon Destruction, Armor Car Mayhem. We have a race. Osborn's polls plunge. Yeah, at this point, thanks to security, thanks to all the crimes, thanks to everything else, people are not trusting Osborn to keep the city safe. So we have urban warfare, Sable, Spider-Man, and Demon firefight. Fisk, I warned you. Of course he did. He did say that within a week, Spider-Man would miss Fisk because the crimes would go up. He was the one directing all the crime. And Spider-Man, menace? Jameson? Hell yes. Of course, it's just Jameson. Feast famine, fate uncertain. GCT bomb, explosives diffused. And terror on the tracks. Martin Lee captured, exposed as demon boss. Not the Lee I know, a lot of people say, because he was a philanthropist. Bugle reporter among hostages, eyewitness report. Thank you, Mary Jane, for all of that. Then we got quarantine, plague, what we know about contagion. And we need a leader. Op-ed, Osborn ineffective. Of course, Osborn is not doing much. He's trying to save face. He knows that Devil's Breath is his fault. GR27 was his order, and he did not take the proper measures to develop it, isolated from society. So quarantine, city closed off as contagion spreads. Escape from New York? You can't. Everything's closed off. Sable brutally enforces quarantine. This is when they went a little bit more out of control. No one can leave town. It's very dangerous. You have to stay. Do your best not to get the sickness. Most likely something akin to what we're going through right now, except people are leaving states, people are visiting other people, and it's all out of control everywhere. At least in the US and Mexico that I know. The Vulture, Deadly Old Man, Stung, Cups warn of Scorpion's poisons. The Sinister Six, Enhanced Criminals at large in city. Who is Mr. Criminal that sprung others? Hospitals fill. Thanks to Devil's Breath, we have 6 of the greatest villains Spider-Man has ever faced. People that completely and absolutely hate him, and have hated him throughout the entirety of his 8-year career. The Sinister Six. Otto Octavius finally descended into madness and becomes Dr. Octopus. And then the Rhino. You're endangered, not him. Electrocution. If you see him, run. There goes the neighborhood. Escaped inmates take over entire blocks. Prison break. How could this happen? Editorial, Raft should be moved. Opinions that are very, very valid, and questions that are also very valid, but, the prison break happened because Octavius did it. More than anything else, he staged a coup so that all the inmates could make a riot, distracting everyone so that he could go to the raft and liberate the 5 people that he needed. Then we have the shock to the heart. Electro, Vulture captured in pitched battle. Plague panic, sickness spreads, worsens. Osborn hits bottom. Can he recover? Probably not, because he's doing very badly. Medicine shipments, where to go? And Raft Riker's rebuilding rigmarole. Rebuilding rigmarole. It's very important to note that at this point, Raft and Rikers took a lot of damage. Physically, and also integrally, A lot of people were harmed during the attacks. The structure itself is completely devastated. They need to invest in a lot of the technology and make it better so that no one can escape the same way that they did this time. So it was just a big thing. And of course, medicine is just starting to get here to counteract the effects of the Devil's Breath. Then you got Big Game Hunt, Spider-Man, Nets Rhino, and Scorpion. Foot riots, escapees attack trucks, crimes that we saw throughout the city. Sable complaints, reports increase. Of course, Sable being unreasonable, and a lot of, the Sable outpost being completely insane, trapping innocent people. Contagion, old and young, and most risk, small kids and older adults. What is Osborn's liability? Pretty much everything. He is to blame for GR27. And he didn't take the correct precautions to do it because it was so personal to him. He just wanted to have it ready as soon as it was ready. Oscorp rumors, is Plague their fault? Lee, still free. Mr. Negative at large. Spider-Man, threat or menace? I said, none. Family crisis, suburban parents stuck in New York. And yeah, that is actually a big crisis. And avoiding Plague, scams. Of course, as we've seen in the regular modern world, whenever there's something like a plague, whenever there's a big infection, people just want to get rid of it, and they fall for scams. People that take advantage of the misinformation that is spread around and just want to make money. Very dumb, very bad. Don't. Please, no. Just stop. And, yeah. Oscar rumors, is Plague their fault? Yes, it is. Then we got, who is the Octopus? Mysterious new villain sighted. And so, Plague Crisis Point, very, very big. Death expected soon as they begin. And 92% want Osborn to resign. Very, very understandable. Same thing as what has been happening a lot with still current Mr. President of the U.S. Of course, this will be released after a president-elect is announced. So, I mean, I don't really want to get political here, but Donald Trump, man, he hasn't acknowledged what is going on right now in the world, and he's been mistreating the issues. So, a lot of people want him to resign. Basically, what is happening here regarding Osborn. Mad scientists, secret Oscorp lab exposed, and Lee escapes City Hall bomber at large. Once again, this is very important because Mr. Negative did not return to the raft after the events of the game. He escaped. Very, very big thing to take into account. High art crime. Spider-Man Magia tussle over Maria. Maria's previous owners read her globe-trotting history, and Sable cleanup. Who foots the bill? Who knows? This is 3 months after the previous paper. Oscorp liability? Subway work continues, and John Jameson interview. The subway work continues is also very important because, you know, they need to stop construction. Some stations are not available. And for Spider-Man, well, fast travel is just not possible to some of these places, or a lot of the places, you know? We had a lot of fast travel points, and in the DLC campaigns, we just have access to a very few of them. So that's something. Then we got street fighting, mob war escalates. Spider watching? What? Murder's hope for hero sighting. Oh, okay. Magia, a history. Uric opens his notebooks. And then we got down here, a screwball loose, tourism rebounds, and ESU scores. We know for a fact that the ESU team started winning again. You can see that on the social media, on Spider-Man's social media, that they start winning games again after Spider-Man rescues the disappeared students. Tourism rebounds because, well, you know, it wasn't as dangerous for at least 3 months, so people started coming back again. And screwball lose, you know what it's talking about, it's freaking screwball. Then we got Deadly Family Feud. Magia rivalries out of control. Snapped up! Roxanne, that is important, Roxanne hires facial tracking whiz. And judge this cover. Police track missing. Mop book. The Roxanne is important because Roxanne Industries is one of the main players in Miles Morales. Spider-Man Miles Morales' main company, instead of Sable, is Roxanne. And so, now you know that Roxanne has a bigger role to play in this universe or whatnot. And it is foreshadowing for the sequel / spin-off / expansion / whatever it is. Then we got Where's Lee? Nobody knows. Gas Run. Yeah. And Op-Ed Watanabe for mayor. They wanted Yuriko Watanabe for mayor. Also, 9 lives and counting, Black Cat eludes Spider-Man. Hammer for a head, experts discuss Hammerhead's physiology. Okay, cool. Sitting on an arsenal, Sable Tech poses problem. Of course it does. New York's #1 bagel, tax hikes part 2, and raft upgrades. Because, of course, they need upgrades to the system so that nobody can escape the same exact way that they did before. At least a part of the raft was back up by the end of the main campaign, but they have to upgrade all of the cells and the security system. But yeah, this is Felicia, of course. And then we got Funny Money. Hammerhead's counterfeit up exposed. Sanitarium squabble. City rejects historical status. You know, because the sanitarium was destroyed. Yeah. A mob wife's tale. Exclusive Bugle interview. Something is that. Oscorp stock toxic. You know, still tanking. And special election a go. I suppose that is the main point of what Rio Morales when Rio Morales decides that it's a good idea to become a politician. And Roxanne resurgent, of course, returning Roxanne to the main spotlight in New York. Setting another foreshadowing flag for Miles Morales. Are they, aren't they? Readers debate Spider-Cat, you know? The ship. Date night destruction. Costumes, bus stop, local watering hole. Not our intention, to be 100% honest. And Vanishing Man. Ex-mayor flees spotlight. At this point, Osborne has resigned as mayor, so now he doesn't want to be here. It's a PR disaster. He said that he was going to lose a lot of time, so he went away. DA under fire. Of course it would be. Strikebreakers. Don't really understand what that refers to. And correction, New York's second bagel. Number 2 bagel. What? Why? Number 2 bagel? I want bagels. High-tech hijack. Mob steals Sable's stuff. No survivors. Investigators comb blast site. Lines for days. Spider-Man Ops Pizzeria profile. You know, Eddie's. Eddie's. And that also comes into play as there's a very, very long line. Remember? Then Sincarian Embassy questioned. Broadway! And don't eat this. This is just flavor text. For some reason, some of it is just flavor text. But the Simberia Embassy question is something to take into account, regarding everything Sable, because they left a lot of Sable's tech in New York. Thank you, Osborne, for that, but yeah. Sanitarium Massacre. Assault on Hammerhead turns deadly. There you go. Donors dig deep. Museum repairs stack up. Very sorry, it wasn't Spider-Man's fault. Those guys came in with RPGs. Who gave green light? Hammerhead plan questioned. Why wouldn't you question it? It's Hammerhead. Pizza galore, runway rejects, and your safety at risk. As it seems to be all the time. Thank you for that, supervillains trying to take hold of New York and then the world. Yeah, the assault on Hammerhead turns deadly because a lot of what happened in the sanatorium when trying to get Hammerhead at the beginning of Turf Wars ended up with a lot of cops dying. You get locked up tight, cops secure remaining Sable tech, at the very least the one that is above ground. Then Loto postponed, Magia fashion, and Pigeon panic. We do have some more, one more piece of experience with pigeons. Not too much, to be 100% honest, though. Why is it even here? Uric on scattered Sable tech, and Memorial planned. Police to remember fallen. Memorial makes a lot of sense. A lot of cops fell in the assault against Hammerhead. And why is it even here? It's a very, very valid question to ask. At that point, they didn't know about Project Olympus. It's still here because it was needed for Oscorp to keep developing Project Olympus. But they didn't know that. So it's a completely reasonable question to ask. Why is the tech even here? Then we got Taken at the Theater. Hammerhead snatches Magia Dons. Good. It came from below. Sable Digger breakdown. The Dig Boys are here. And contract cancelled. City disentangles from Oscorp. So, yeah. Now that Osborne is not the mayor anymore, there's no reason for Oscorp to be the biggest, greatest company in the city. Which also leads to Roxanne growing. Feast for all seasons. And JJJ on pet care. Would not follow his advice too much. Hats! Hats, though. That's a thing. Then we got When Will It End? Hammerhead destroys police lockup. Everything that they had secured. Yeah. Ball dropped. Watanabe blamed. Again. We told you so. Sabletech. Scare, not a surprise. Again. This is another mood changer because this is when Yuri completely snaps. Playing the ponies. None for us, thanks. And Bugle Ball announced. What is Bugle Ball? I do not know. Bar no more. Batty Hangout smashed. Bugle Ball cancelled. Of course it was. And museum repair stalls. Because, it's still not safe. Where's Sable? She's not here. Foreshadowing for Silver Lining, she's gonna come back. Magia in medical ER overflows. Well, makes sense. They were all badly hurt at the bar with no name. Under our noses, inside bar with no name. Of course, Regular people were not able to enter that place. It's very dangerous to go inside of that place. So also, not a lot of people really wanted to go in. So that's the bar no more. Then we got Out of Control. Watanabe goes rogue. OPD. She was right. Captain's actions righteous. That's an opinion. OPD. No, she wasn't. This wasn't justice. Opposing. This is the main debate as to a lot of people debate this with the death sentence, for example. Is it fair to kill someone because they killed someone else? Is it okay to just do a life for a life? Is it right to take a life out of quote unquote justice? Is it actually justice? Those are the questions that a lot of people make when debating this sort of stuff, and a lot of people think that it is righteous, it is justice, because if you take a life, you lose that right to yours. You violated that right for someone else, you do not deserve to have that right for yourself. Other people think people are still alive even if they are not okay in their heads, or if they did something, they might have made a mistake in their lives, they may have not had a choice. It is still a crime, it needs to be punished, but they need to live their lives out, paying for it. That's the two very different opinions on this topic. And of course, Watanabe goes for killing is the righteous thing. Medical examiner missing. Ball back on. Maybe? Socks! From hats to socks. Why? Also, medical examiner missing. I hadn't seen that. She's back, baby! Silver Sable returns, the steed of the Magia. Playoff time again, and storms coming. Okay, weather. All times, Sable's return sparks memories. Maybe not very good memories for some people. New tricks. What is she plotting? Piloting. That's what it says. Piloting. I cannot read. New tricks. What is she piloting? A little bit of a smaller version of a very big thing that you can see the Avengers on in the movies. Or you can just call it a hovercraft, but it's very, very cool. Then we got Downtown Debacle. Who pays? City considers... what does that say? City considers filing claim to who? Probably Sable. And Friendly Fire. Sable, Spidey, seen shaking hands. Yeah. Shaking hands, man. Fashion icon retires, which I would suppose would be Magia. And world leaders unite. Good. Mental health breakthrough. That is also amazing. I hadn't seen that one either. Terror on Tower. Of course, this is horrifying. This is terrorific. Resurrected? How is he alive? I do not know. Nobody understands. It's just his head on a freaking mech suit. It's just, I do not get it. Time to talk? Mayor says, negotiation possible. Okay. Why would you negotiate? But okay. New season, new decor. At Quality Report, traffic is terrible. Now, remember, this is 3 months after the end of the previous of the main game. A little bit more than that. So, if the previous game ended during November, this would be in February, if not a little bit later, starting or beginning March. The end of the campaign was after Halloween, a little bit after Halloween, and so 3 months after would be February, beginning of February, which is still winter, but not really the point here. But that is new season, new decor. This is the beginning of spring. Then we got the hideout. Hammerhead's hideout. Spider-Man finds Magia, boss's underground lair. Sable Tech, what police discovered. And Subway surprise, source of power, source of power surges found. There you go. Gosh. Lottery record, crossword correction, and politics get too political. Politics are always too political, man. I don't like politics. Down and out. Sable and Spider-Man make city safe again. Finally. Goodbye to Hammerhead. Arrests made. Hammerhead, Pauls plead out. And Subway Surprise reports from the front lines. We also have baseball signings, budget crisis, and school bullying. As you can see, as the city becomes more and more peaceful, all of these reports are starting to look away from the crime and starting to look more at regular stuff. Nope, we already did that. Oh, that's the last one. Down and out. That's the last one. Okay, cool. So, we can see that there's a lot of foreshadowing for a lot of different things that we could see in the game and about what we know for Miles Morales. At the point I'm recording this, it's 1 week before Miles Morales releases. Reviews are already out. I already watched some of the reviews. Like the first mission, a lot of people have uploaded footage of it. I have tried to avoid watching as much as possible, but yeah, at this point we don't know fully what Miles Morales is or what takes place on it. What we do know, I've already talked about during the entirety of the reading for these newspapers. So that's one thing. Who is the Spider-Man? One Nightwalker claims to know. Jameson's on new media. Taxi strike again and Midtown construction. So Oscorp unveils latest CR exclusive photos. Superhero tied? Fab or fad? Well, I think it's fabulous, but meh. Alright, so that's that. Then, no. We are still missing, I just want to give you a quick look through the benchmarks. This is what we achieved during our time together. Of course, everything that I did on camera. Because there's still stuff that I didn't do on camera, and that I did unlock a lot of other benchmarks. I finished a few others on my New Game Plus, but of course that and this are different files, so they don't really count. This is what we went through together, and so I'm still missing a lot of them, especially the ones that I'll take that and the demoted ones. I know I'm missing a lot for those, but basically we got through most of them, especially combat-wise and movement-wise. We're very, very high up and about to finish the last ones. Whiplash is the one that I had the least in, but the last one is gotten at 300, I think. 300 Whiplashes, so it doesn't really matter too much. It's not that hard to get the benchmarks, you just have to dedicate a little bit of time to them. So yeah, it's actually not bad. Pretty easy to get these. They are a neat little boost in experience. Don't really give you much by the end of the game, so I would also not recommend going for them by the end of the game. If you just want to level up, it's better if you just get them naturally instead of just grinding them out. My gosh. And now the character bios. These are all written from the perspective of Peter Parker and Spider-Man. So we got on the right side, we got height, weight, age, place of birth, occupation, and aliases. So of course, for Peter, it's 5'10", 167 pounds, which is around 86. No, it's more like 89. Yeah, about 89 kilos, which is actually surprising. I would think he's a little bit slimmer than that, but I guess muscle accounts for a lot of it. He's 23, so at this point in time, Spider-Man is younger than me, and I haven't achieved as much as he. Oh, insecurities. Oh, life crisis, here we come. Place of birth, Forest Hills, New York. Occupation, research assistant. Alice's friendly neighborhood Spider-Man. The webhead, the web-slinger. And of course, by Mary Jane, Tiger. Just your friendly neighborhood, yada yada yada. Can you believe it's been 8 years since you were bit by that radioactive spider, Peter? No, Peter, I cannot. Feels like just yesterday I was geeking out in the AV club with Harry, dreaming about college and moving to the city. Back then, my biggest concern was avoiding Flash Thompson at lunch. Now, well, things have gotten a few clicks more complicated. Powers and abilities. Can adhere to most surfaces, superhuman strength, can lift up to 10 tons, exceptional agility, web shooters allow rapid travel from point to point, spider sense acts as an early warning, threat detection, enabling the avoidance of most injuries, really good sense of humor, like, really good. So that's Spider-Man. Then we got Mary Jane Watson. Place of birth, Montoursville, Pennsylvania. Occupation, reporter, Alice's MJ. MJ, to say it's complicated would be the understatement of my life. My best friend since middle school. We started dating senior year of college. We made it almost 2 years. Then the fight to end all fights. Hard to say who broke whose heart more. Either way, we haven't even spoken over 6 months. It's a little sad to admit, but I've got a subscription to the Bugle just so I can see her byline in print. Could just read her articles online, but something about seeing them in ink makes them more neat and more real. Last week's was 10 surprising ways millennials are changing Manhattan. I know she hates writing that kind of thing, but feels like she's winning her talents. But she's growing a following. People love her voice. She's gonna be a household name someday. I know it. Powers and Abilities has honed her investigative skills over years of working from intern to staff reporter. With a well-developed network of sources and a knack for putting interview subjects at ease, she's quickly made a name for herself as a journalist to watch. Fearless, sometimes to the charging of her editor, she follows the story wherever it might lead. Chagrin, sorry. Then we got Wilson Fisk, the Kingpin. Look at the height, 6'7", weighing 450 pounds at age 48. The occupation is CEO of Fisk Industries and a criminal mastermind, also known as the Kingpin of Crime. Wilson Fisk, also known as the Kingpin. What else can I say? He's my biggest nemesis, by pure volume and every other available metric. I was 15 when I first took down one of his enforcers. Guy was in jail for all of 2 hours, but Fisk had it in for me ever since. He controls more of the city than anyone realizes. Police, judges, the city council. You name it and he's got leverage. If I can put him away once and for all, the city might be safe enough that I could finally focus on the rest of my life. Powers and Abilities, incredibly strong and resilient. His agility and dexterity have been honed from years of training, and his mental fortitude is nearly unmatched. A formidable strategist, he always has a plan, and those who underestimate him do so at their own point. Peril. Risk. Then we got Yuriko Watanabe. Height 5'9", 135 pounds, age 38, from Astoria, New York, and then she's captain of the New York Police, alias Best Bud. My best, and let's face it, only friend on the police force. Sure, she's sarcastic and cranky and sometimes wants to kill me, but it comes from a place of love. Fun fact, in her second year on the force, Yuri was sent in to negotiate a hostage situation in Hell's Kitchen. After 3 hours of talking, she ended it by body slamming the suspect, knocking him out. When asked why she broke protocol, she said he annoyed me. While skilled at both hand-to-hand combat and down-and-dirty police work, she has lately transitioned into a managerial role. A large swath of the police force looks to her for guidance. Cool under pressure and uniquely focused, little shakes her confidence. Then we got Otto Octavius, 5'9", 245 pounds, 63 years old, from Schenectady, New York. Schenectady, sorry. He's a scientist, and his alias is Doc. Otto has been childhood idol since I was 6 years old. Other kids would talk about Captain America or Iron Man, but I dreamed of growing up to be just like Otto Octavius. Aunt May was the one who called and got me this summer internship with him. He didn't even have an internship program. He just hired me based on May's word. 2 years later, I'm working for him full-time and we're on the brink of something that's going to change the world. I just wish 6-year-old me could see me now. Powers and Abilities, genius level intellect, able to think about even the most complex problems to devise elegant, effective solutions. That's Dr. Otto Octavius. Moving on to May Parker. She will be missed. 5'5", 110 pounds, 66 years old, so basically too young to be gone. Brooklyn, New York, operations manager at Feast. Also called Aunt May. If I could pick one person in the world I want to emulate, it would be Aunt May. She's the strongest and most selfless person I know. I just wish we'd think of herself a little bit more now and then. May started volunteering at Feast shortly after Uncle Ben's death as a way to find some light in the darkness. She said it was temporary, but we all knew. This was more than a part-time gig for her. Flash forward a few years and now she practically runs the place. Everything she touches is better because of her. A generous spirit that inspires everyone around her is her superpower. Then we got Martin Lee, 5'11", 180 pounds, aged 40. Place of birth, Dali, China. Occupation CEO Feast, and also known as May's boss. Martin Lee as the new definition of American success story. After being orphaned at only 7 years old, he grew up in a foster care in Manhattan. Then at the age of 18, he went to China and made a fortune in the shipping industry. When he came back to New York 9 years later, he was already a billionaire. But rather than living off his fortune, he set up charities across the city. He's now dedicating his life to making sure that nobody in the city is forgotten or abandoned. It's no wonder Aunt May wanted to work for him. Powers and abilities: inspiring philanthropic leadership. Inspiring. Norman Osborn, 5'11", 195 pounds, aged 58, from Hartford, Connecticut. He is the mayor of New York and the CEO of Oscorp, also known as Mr. Mayor. Norman Osborn, my best friend's dad, the founder of the world's biggest tech company, and now the mayor of New York. It's hard not to admire the guy. Or it would be hard if he wasn't arrogant, condescending, and generally dishonest. Still, I can't bring myself to ever hate Harry's dad. Nobody who raised Harry could ever be all bad. And his powers and abilities: vast wealth and unmatched political gamesmanship. Of course, that's how he came to be mayor. Then we got Herman Schultz. We're getting to the villains. Well, another villains. Herman Schultz, or the Shocker, 5'9", 175 pounds, age 42, from New York City, New York. He is a professional thief. No other aliases, just Shocker. Herman Schultz, also known as the Shocker, was one of the first super adversaries, also the cause of my first celebratory headline story in the Daily Bugle. I was used to guys with guns or knives or even water balloons filled with hot sauce. Shocker could actually hold his own. If I had known ahead of time, I probably could have found a less destructive way to take him down. But nobody got hurt, and they were planning on remodeling the Flatron building anyway. Ever since I've been more careful to back off, if I thought fighting would put civilians at risk, I can always catch them later when I've got the upper hand. Powers and abilities: a gifted autodidact, uses vibroshock units of his own design to create high-pressure air blasts, meaning that he can learn for himself, and he's smart. Then we got Jefferson Davis, 5'10", 145 pounds, age 44, from New York City. He's a police officer, also known as Officer Davis, or just Jeff. Strange to work with a police officer and have him treat me like an equal, not a nuisance to be brushed away. Officer Davis is the sort of man I hope I would have become if I hadn't gotten my powers. Honest, dedicated, moral. His family's lucky to have him. A skilled fighter with extensive firearm training, veteran of the police force, his knowledge of organized crime, Wilson Fisk in particular, is extensive. And that was Jefferson Davis. We knew him for all about 2 days. And then we got Miles, 5'8", 135 pounds, aged 15, from Brooklyn, New York. Occupation: a student. I can't stop replaying the events in my head. I have just reacted a second earlier. If there was some clue I missed at the construction site, if Jeff would still be alive, and Miles would still have his father, I owe it to Jeff to find some way to help Miles. I don't know how to do it yet, but I have to honor his father's memory. An intuitive grasp of science and technology are his superpowers at this point, but he will become greater. Then we got Rio Morales, 5'7", 120 pounds, age 41, from New York City. She is a teacher. Rio was so polite to me at the funeral. She's the one hurting and she still takes time and tries to make me feel better. She deserves to be angry at me. I should have saved her husband, and I failed. It'd be so much easier if she knew the truth and hated me for it. Powers and abilities: a love of science that she's passed on to her son, and an unrelenting will. Then we got Silver Sablinova, also known as Silver Sable. We got 5'5", 125 pounds, 36 years of age, from Sincaria, and she is the CEO of Sable International. Silver Sablinova, also known as Silver Sable, is not what pops into your head when you think of princess, but that's what she is. Her father, Ernst, is king of the Eastern European nation of Sincaria. They're hardly your typical pampered royal family, though. Silver's grandfather fought the Nazi occupation personally, leading a resistance that was never defeated. After the war, the country's primary resource was trained, hardened soldiers, so he founded Sable International, a paramilitary force available to the highest bidder. Silver's brought them into the 21st century in both tech and tactics. Nowadays, Sable International agents come from all over the world, but Silver Sable is their unquestioned leader and finest soldier. Trained from early childhood by the greatest warriors in the world, she just might be the best pure fighter I've ever seen. I can understand why Major Osborn hired Sable Security to fortify a police department and left short-handed by the arrest of all cops on Will Fisk's payroll. But the police are there to protect and serve the public. Sable Security is there to serve Osborn, and for what I've seen of Silver, she's not one to exercise restraint. This is Manhattan, not a war zone. I don't think she's a bad person, just hardened by life and her job. But even though I'm not crazy about her methods, I can't deny she's put her life on the line to take down some really bad guys since she's been here. As long as she's running stable security, we should be okay. I hope. Powers and abilities: extraordinary hand-to-hand combat and martial artist, expert marksman, accomplished gymnast, fluent in multiple languages. Then we got Lonnie Lincoln, Tombstone, 6'7", 385 pounds, age 39, from Harlem. He's a free agent and is the pale one. Oh man, Tombstone, this freaking guy. I have fought a lot of guys in my day. Guys with mechanized war rigs, guys with semi-mystical reality-bending powers, guys with goofy names and goofier costumes. Lots of crazy guys. I have never fought a guy like Lonnie Lincoln, also known as the Tombstone. Most bad guys, you beat them, throw them in the raft, they get pissed. Talk about how they're gonna take you down next time, talk about how they're gonna rip you limb from limb. Lonnie? Man, all he does is smile. Every loss is just another great challenge on the horizon. He once told me, right after I handed him over to the police, there's nothing Lonnie loves more than the promise of a great fight. And when the guy doing the fighting is built like a brick house, with impermeable skin and razor-sharp teeth, well, let's just say I wish that he had discovered the joy of painting or something. There's only so many great challenges a spider can take. Powers and abilities: superhuman strength and enhanced durability. His skin is nearly impenetrable, skilled at hand-to-hand combat, and proficient with firearms. Decent cook. How you know that? I wouldn't really know, but he knows. Then we got Dr. Morgan Michaels. 5'10", 170 pounds, 52 years of age, from Neola, Iowa. He is the GR27 project lead at Oscorp. Dr. Morgan Michaels, PhD no less, is Oscorp's top researcher for GR27, their CRISPR-based genome therapy. And I have to say, for a guy heading such an important project, he's kind of a nobody. I mean, I'm a science nerd and I've never heard of him. And a search of academic databases only turns up a couple of minor mentions. I think I saw a reference in one of his emails to him being Greek. Maybe Michaels is an Americanized name and he's been published as Michaelopoulos or something. Not that it matters, from what I've seen of his work, he's brilliant. Michaels is specialized in hereditary genetic diseases, finding cures for the incurable. I wish I had more confidence that that his discoveries would be the gift to society that they would be, but Oscorp traditionally focuses on military contracts. They always seem to find a way to turn plowshares into swords. It's a little weird they're pursuing this line of research at all, but Norman really seems committed to it. So does Michaels. Personally invested, even more so than most scientists are in their work. I wonder if it is personal for Michaels. In his photos, he doesn't look well. Thin, pale, dark circles under his eyes. Could he have a genetic condition of his own? Okay, I'm getting overly fanciful here. He probably just never sleeps. I know from experience what that's like. Powers and abilities: gifted biochemist. No one understands Devil's Breath better than him. Which is exactly why he is, on the spotlight for this. Then we got Mark Gargan, also known as the Scorpion. 6'3", 220 pounds, 35 years of age, from Yonkers, New York. Occupation: gun for hire. Mac Gargan used to be a run-of-the-mill street criminal, and an especially good one. That was before he signed up for an untested procedure to fuse a human body with a mechanized combat suit. The process made Gargan stronger and faster than naturally possible, but also jacked up his rage and aggression. I bet after what happened, the researchers regretted adding a weaponized tail to the suit on top of it all. It's not like Mac just whacks it when he's happy to see you. It took me a while to develop webbing strong enough to hold him down for even a few seconds. Encounters with Scorpion have left me with more than a few scrapes and bruises among much more serious injuries. Don't even want to think about how many more love taps I'll have to endure to get him back behind bars this time. Powers and ability: mentally unstable. Enhanced strength, speed, endurance, and agility. Suit claws allow him to scale any surface, while tail can be used as a blunt weapon. His stinger contains a lethal and painful toxin that can be injected or hurled as a projectile. Bad stuff. Then we got Alexei Sitsevic, the Rhino. 7'5", 710 pounds, age 41, from Irkutsk in Russia. He's an ex-mob enforcer, also known as Santa Claus. Alexei Sitsevic. Don't call him Rhino unless you're prepared to have your bones crushed. Alexei clearly loves his power experimental combat suit gives him. but hates the way it makes it an easy target for ridicule. Talk about a trigger warning. Alexei would be hard enough to fight without his suit, but with it, he's likely an unholy combination of a tank, a battering ram, and 18 gallons of Russian vodka. Even with my accelerated healing, it took me a couple of weeks to recover the first time I brought him down, and that was after he demolished 6 city blocks. I'm not looking forward to the rematch. Powers and abilities: superhuman strength and nearly impervious to harm thanks to his mech suit, resistant to extreme temperatures, shock, and explosive damage, resistant to most acid solutions. Perfect pairing for the Scorpion. Then we got Max Dillon, Electro, 5'11", 165 pounds, 39 years, from Endicott, New York, professional criminal, also known as Sparky. Of all the villains I've ever fought, Max Dillon might be the one that worries me the most. Story goes that he gained the ability to control electricity after a freak accident transformed him into a human lightning rod. As Electro, Dillon can shoot high voltage bolts at will, and he's come pretty close to sapping me into a Spidey shish kebab on more than one occasion. I got lucky the first time we fought. He would have killed me if he didn't burn himself out with his own electrical current. He was still getting used to controlling his powers then. If he ever taps his true potential, I'm not sure even the Avengers could stop him. Powers and abilities: a living electrical capacitor capable of generating electrostatic energy of roughly 1,000 volts per minute, able to store upwards of 1,000,000 volts, and can discharge stored energy in the form of lightning blasts, capable of traveling at high speeds. Then we got Adrian Toomes, the Vulture, from the movie, except not. 5'11", 175 pounds, 76 years of age, from Staten Island, New York. Former electronics designer. Engineer, sorry. When I first heard that an old guy was dressing up in a bird costume and calling himself the Vulture, I had a hard time taking him seriously. But I learned pretty quickly that Adrian Toomes is no ordinary geriatric. He engineered his flight suit himself and gave a first-hand lesson that spiders don't do well at altitude. It took me years of failed attempts before I finally took him down, and I'm dreading having to do it over again. The sharp wings on his suit are deadly in a fight, but they will also allow Vulture to make a quick getaway, and I can only swing so fast. Sometimes I wish I was bitten by a radioactive wasp, but I guess that moniker's already taken. Powers and abilities: a gifted mechanic engineer. His flight suit grants him airborne speeds of up to 95 miles per hour and enhanced strength, able to launch simple energized knife-like projectiles from his wingtips. That's Adrian Toomes. Then we got Mr. Negative, different from Mr. Lee. 5'11", 180 pounds, 40 years of age, from Delhi, China, occupation a terrorist, alias Martin Lee. Martin Lee has an alter ego. Jonah's been calling him Mr. Negative on his show. Jonah always did have an ear for ranting. Mr. Negative is like the inverse of Martin Lee, but with some kind of crazy energy powers. I'd love to know how the energy works, but I'm not ready to die to find out. Real question is, what's happening to Martin Lee? Did he plan the whole attack on City Hall? Or is Mr. Negative some kind of weird alternate personality? What's driving his rage? Powers and abilities: can generate and control a highly destructive negative energy, able to corrupt people, effectively mind controlling them with just a touch, increased strength and speed, able to give small portions of his powers to his followers. Then we got Dr. Octopus, 5'9", 245 pounds, 63 years of age, from Schenectady, New York, criminal mastermind, also known as Doc Ock and Otto Octavius. Dr. Octavius and I were supposed to change the world. Now the media is calling him Dr. Octopus, and I'm wondering if the city's going to survive his rampage. I tried to warn Doc of the risks the neural interface posed to his brain, but never in a million years did I imagine he'd turn into a revenge-obsessed monster. The Otto Octavius I know would never hurt people. He dedicated his life to helping them. I know he's still in there, somewhere, and I'm going to do everything I can to save him. Powers and abilities: mechanized prosthetics grant superhuman strength and durability, can scale nearly any surface. A direct neural connection means the prosthetics respond with the speed of thought. Basically, instantly. Then we got the Taskmaster, 6'2", 220 pounds, no known age nor place of birth, overzealous spider fan, for some reason, also known as that mystery guy over there. There's mysterious, and then there's mysterious. Taskmaster arrived out of nowhere with only one objective: to study me. He set up challenges for me throughout the city, trying to learn how I operate and replicate my powers. I wish I could just ignore him, but he's placing New Yorkers at risk. Is he angling towards some grander scheme, or is he just amusing himself? Whatever his end goal, I need to keep tabs on his death masked Joker. He's studying me. To complete that game, Powers and abilities, incredible mnemonic talents, able to mimic the moves and powers of most enemies, seemingly very well funded. You know, 6 figures. Then we got Black Cat, the actual Black Cat, not the recordings. 5'10", 150 pounds, age unknown, place of birth, Flushing, New York. Cat burglar, of course, also known as Felicia Hardy. Then we go as Felicia Hardy, also known as Black Cat, is a master thief and trickster, and we have a long and complicated history. I thought I had convinced her to give up the life of crime, but apparently I didn't stick. It didn't stick. She's addicted to risk-taking and enjoyed the finer things in life, which often gets her in trouble. Worst part about her is that she brings bad luck wherever she goes. Superhuman agility, skilled martial artist, strong and fast, draws additional strength from her suit and equipment. Very sharp claws, signature gadget is a grappling hook. There you go, that's Black Cat. And finally, Hammerhead, 6'5", 290 pounds, from Russia. Still a crime boss, also known as Joseph or Mr. H. Hammerhead is one of the strongest and most ruthless of the magic crime bosses. As a younger man, he was beaten and left for dead. A surgeon named Jonas Harrow saved his life, implanting a steel alloy plate in his skull in the process. Whether the incident left Hammerhead mentally scarred or whether he was always a homicidal maniac, I can't say. But he will stop at nothing to seize control of the Magia families. Powers and abilities, incredible strength, bulletproof, skull-skilled marksman, deadly street fighter, 0 scruples. And that's it. Those are all the characters that appear in the game as characters, but of course we got some other characters. As the DLC went on, we got the beginning or origin story of the Wraith, and well, we just got to see a lot of things happen. Also, some other enemies were teased throughout the entirety of this thing. When Mary Jane was examining inside of Osborn's secret room, we saw the prototype grenades for what will eventually become the Goblin grenades, the bombs that the Green Goblin uses when fighting Spider-Man, which is definitely not encouraging. Also, Harry was enveloped with a weird web-like fluid, which I'm not entirely sure if that will make him evolve or devolve into one of other Spider-Man's nemesis. Nemesis? Don't know what the plural of nemesis is, but it could be either that or the existence of the symbiote was confirmed at that point, which I really don't think. I don't think it's that. Also, we got a lot of foreshadowing for some other villains appearing, and we know that the Tinker is going to be the main villain in Miles Morales. So, yeah. There's just a lot of other stuff to discover. This world is so vast, and it has stuck to the origin stories and the backgrounds of a lot of the characters that it portrays, and it portrays them beautifully. It was very, very nice to see a budding relationship with Yuri throughout the game. It broke my heart to see Yuri devolve into the mess that she was by the end, and how she now believes that she's rightful and a justice maker, you know, imparting justice by killing criminals. So, yeah, that's an origin story for another character, and you see, there's a lot of differing stuff coming from the comics and from other universes, but this is all just very, very exciting because they now have turned it into a franchise, and I really want to see what they do with this universe, man. Earth 1048. I wish that there's more games developed. I'm not sure if Insomniac Games is going to stick with this series forever or if they're going to hand it over to someone else. If they ever do, I'm pretty sure that it's going to be very, very tough for people to look or to, you know, live up to what Insomniac has done. They've done a very, very good job with Spider-Man, and Miles Morales looks just as good, if not better. So, yeah, it's going to be tough to follow up on these games, but certainly something that I wish to see at some point. At any rate, guys, thank you so very much for sticking out with me the entirety of this game. It's been a lot of fun, and even though it doesn't really feel like a finale because we finished the story a couple of episodes ago, I can say with certainty that I'm looking forward to whatever comes next. For now, I'm going to take a little bit of a rest from the bigger series. I'm going to finish off the, you know, Super Smash Bros. Hopefully before the end of the year. I'm not 100% sure that's going to be possible, but hopefully before the end of the year, or at the very least before they announce the next DLC fighter for that. And Life is Strange is gonna be coming back to the channel in full force sometime soon, as well as new types of content that are coming to the channel. I've been wanting to work on different types of content for a little while. Something a little bit above 3 or 4 years that I've been planning different types of content, and that I've been researching on topics that I can seriously talk about for a long time. So be on the lookout for that. I am really excited for what is coming to the channel. I'm really excited for what is coming in terms of content for you guys. Streaming is going to come back. If not, it has already come back by the time that I'm releasing this video. So yeah, lots of different stuff coming to the channel, guys. I'm very, very excited, and I hope that you're here joining me for that as well. So thank you so, so very much. And don't forget that you can always be greater. I'll see you guys next time for something different. Into the Spider-Verse, Spider-Man. Goodbye.